Do you know what depth big bass consistently spend the majority of their life? Now, they can be at all different depths, but there's one secret depth that they spend the most time. Good morning, guys and girls. April 20, we're about to use up this month, 2/3 of the way through. 30 days has September, April, June, and November. This is one of those 30-day months right here. Our scripture today is going to be from Mark 4:39. Jesus stood up and commanded the wind and said to the waters, "Quiet, be still." Then the wind stopped, and it became completely calm. Oh, you remember what was happening right then? Jesus was asleep. Jesus was actually asleep on Lake Gennesaret, the Sea of Galilee, which is a freshwater lake, and it's a giant lake. I've been there. I've actually fished on that lake. And it's huge. It's like one of our Great Lakes. It's a really, really, really large body of water. It's like the ocean when the wind blows. I mean, it's really, really rough. Jesus was asleep in the bottom of the boat, and the disciples, when the storm came up, got really, really worried. And they woke him up and said, "Jesus, Jesus, we're all going to drown. Don't you care?" And Jesus stood up and he commanded the wind and said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." Then the wind stopped and it became completely calm. You know, I think he's given us that power over the wind and the waves also. We just don't quite have enough faith to actually go ahead and do it. Our devotional says, although it's not necessarily the best time to catch fish, all of us like the magic of a dead calm lake. Every movement, every sound is magnified. We can hear and see a fish jump a couple of 100 yards away. Every movement of a topwater sends ripples seemingly forever. The problem is the fish can see and hear much better than we do. Rest assured, they know that we're there, and that makes them harder to catch. Think about the Jesus that you and I believe in. He can calm the crashing waves of a raging sea. How much more can he calm the daily storms that we face? Americans have been facing a lot of daily storms recently, many still going through them today. Actually, life throws storms at you no matter what, irrespective of any virus. This is a God that's so powerful that he can take the fury out of any situation that we face. Place your full trust in him today. You know, I've got a friend named Jerry Cox that he's poetic the way he writes things. He knows scriptures extremely well. He's had a full life and great trust in God. And just about every time that he makes a comment, he'll make a comment from Jesus that says, "Do you trust me? Do you really trust me?" Yes, but do you really trust me? And that's what we got to do. We got to place our full trust in him. So when he says, "Do you trust me?" we can say, "Absolutely, Jesus, I trust you." Here's our tip for today. Most really big bass live the majority of their adult lives, here we go, around 10 foot deep. Around 10 foot deep. Now, where I came about that information, I think I've talked about it a little bit before on some of these Catch of the Days. Where I came about that information was working with John Hope, a friend of mine from down in Texas, and we took some really big bass. I'm talking 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-pound bass. Not a lot, not a ton of them, but probably way too more for the government to do a survey. But we took these bass and we put radio transmitters in them and we turned them loose so we could go back and check where they were. And we found that most of them had a home place that they liked to hang out, and it was generally about 10 foot deep. And then they moved out and they went on feeding sprees, and when they did, they had sort of milk runs in places that they went, and they came back to that spot. But most all of that feeding they did in about 10 foot of water. Now, this year, during the spring, in fishing with my buddy Josh Jones and using a Garmin LiveScope, we have found a lot of big fish. We've been looking for only giant fish. Really hadn't been paying too much attention to 3 and 4 and 5 pounders. We're trying to catch a state record. We did not do it unless he caught one today, and he might have, I don't know. If he did, I'll find out about it pretty quickly. But we're trying to catch a state record. We're trying to catch a fish that I think is 15 something, and we're trying to beat that. And Josh did catch one over 12 this year. We had another one that was 11.76, and quite a few others over 8 pounds. But we found those fish in a lot of different depths. We found a lot of them early in the year, 15, 18 feet. We found some of them before they went to the bank in 4 and 5 foot of water and moving around. Now, they've got to be in pretty open water for us to be able to see them with that. When they drop down on the bottom, we can't see them. When they get in real heavy trees, get in the grass, we can't see them. So they're going to be in a lot of places where we can't see. It's going to be really interesting during the summer months and during the fall months to see where those fish are. So, but this study that we did down there years ago in Texas with John Hope, the majority, well, those bass just, not the majority, just basically every one of them live most of their life in about 10 foot of water. So that's kind of something to think about. One of the techniques that I use, and I've talked about it before, and this technique is so great that live scope is perfect for it because it shines out in front of the boat. It doesn't shine out there, but you're looking out in front of the boat. One of the techniques that I like to use is to get in about 10 foot of water, and that's really where I developed that technique, was because of John's studies that he had years ago. And get in 10 foot of water and take a big crankbait and just fan cast, go out to deep water, bring it back up to 10, throw into shallow water, bring it out to 10, and just keep my boat in 10 foot of water as I weave down through an area of fishing, just moving on a trolling motor. Now we can see out in front of the boat, 40, 50, 60, 70 feet. And so what I was trying to do with that crankbait was to hit a stump or hit some brush or hit a rock or something out there. And if I could find that, you know, I could usually make a cast or two on it or bump that rock or stump, and I'd catch a big bass that way. Now we can take that live scope and look out there and see it. It's one of the best tools for that. We're using it a little bit differently in the wintertime, but it's one of the best tools for fishing shallow water that was ever developed, because you can see what's on the bottom out in front of the boat. Guys and girls, it's springtime. It is absolutely going to be gorgeous today. Going to be up there above 70 degrees. I'm going to fish hopefully every day this week. Guys and girls, go out there and have you a great time. I love you.